So, hi everyone, this is PAC's second software tutorial night. I think today we'll just be going over how to do like basic time-lapse images or videos um, taken with or doing like landscape pictures, and maybe show how to do star trails. And so we'll be using a couple different software for that, pieces of software for that, mainly like Photoshop, Lightroom. There's a program called StarStaX that will be used to do the actual star trails. And I guess I should start by asking if anyone has any questions. If not, I'll share my screen. So I already have images taken of this is like a Milky Way nightscape. So just a foreground. It's not a very good foreground, just trees. There's not a lot of well, there's a lot of contrast actually, but I think for today I'm not really gonna worry about uh, what the trees look like. I'm mainly focused on the Milky Way itself for both the star trails and the time lapse. I guess we can start with the time lapse. So something about Lightroom that's different from Photoshop is it allows you to do batch editing. So you can normally with Photoshop you're mainly editing one picture, maybe a couple layers on top of that, but with Lightroom you're able to import several different pictures at the same time, and it's really convenient. You are able to edit a single picture and then apply those edits to every single other picture. So this was just a demonstration I was working on earlier. Uh, so hold on, let me just try to get rid of all of these. So as soon as you open Lightroom, you have different tabs. So Develop tab, Library tab. You're mainly going to be using these two. So if you want to start in the Library tab, you want to import all of your pictures. So to do that, you go to File, Import, and you want to locate where you have all of your pictures saved. So it's loading. I'm like sharing my screen and recording at the same time, so it's probably going to go a little slower. Okay, so I think by the number it starts, yeah, here. And as soon as you click one image, um, if they're all in like a sequence, which most like DSLR cameras will take images by like numerical um, in a numerical sense. So if you click on one image, you can go to your final image and shift click it, and it'll select all of the pictures that you want within a certain number range. And after that, you just hit import. And actually, it actually imported everything, so hold on. Go back to File, Import. Okay, here are all of the images you want. Yeah, so what I did was every image was checked. So you probably want to uncheck them all. Select, and then you can also just check all. Um, yeah, so what I should have done was unchecked everything and then selected everything I wanted and then checked those. So after that, import. And once every picture is in, you can go to the Develop tab. And at this point, you kind of have a lot of basic editing tools that Photoshop has. Lightroom definitely doesn't have like the same capacity as Photoshop in terms of editing, but being able to make like a quick edit and then apply all of those edits to every single picture makes Lightroom convenient for this application. Um, I guess with the Galaxy itself, I just want to maybe increase the exposure a little bit. Like, this is all kind of preference. Like, you really just can mess with the sliders forever. Make it more blue or orange. I prefer a little blue. Um, Maybe a little saturation. Also, at any point, if you want to ask questions, feel free. Depending on what camera you're using, um, your images might have a little aberration, which basically just means like in the corners of your images, you'll see like little trails like this. And depending, Lightroom has a lot of profiles depending on your camera and lens, but I don't think Photoshop actually or Lightroom supports the lens I used. I used a 14 millimeter. Um, it was a Rokinon 14 millimeter f 2.8, and I think each of these pictures was here. Actually, it'll show uh in the properties of the pictures you can check like how long the exposure times were, but I think this was like maybe 20 seconds. There's a rule to figure out how to take pictures like this if you don't have um like a star tracker or anything. It's called the it's also by preference. It's called the 500, or a lot of people go by the 300 rule. And basically what it means is you divide 500 or 300 based off of your preference by the focal length of your lens. So 500 or 300 divided by 14, um, and that'll give you the amount of seconds you can take an exposure before you see trails like this. So this was kind of pushing the limit of the lens I had. But because I don't have a profile, just clicking this won't do much. So if I'm happy with how this looks, maybe I want a little texture. It'll make it look a little grainy, but it's all preference. I'll just go with that. So once you're, oh, actually, okay, if you're okay with the settings you have, you can Control C to copy all of the settings. And once you copy them, you can click the one image, select all of them, and you want to find something called sync down here. And once you do that, it'll, you, I mean, this is by default. It'll just say, or you can select what settings you want to have applied to all of the other images. And then, I mean, you could probably just check them all. It's fine. Uh, you can synchronize it, and so all of the settings will start to be applied. I think it looks good. And after you've done all of that, you can export all of these. And I'm just going to send this to the desktop. So because I already had this folder here, it's going to overwrite everything. I think, yeah, that's everything. So at this point, you can open Photoshop, which I can close all of this. And if you're just doing the time lapse, you want to open where you have your edited pictures. You want to click the very first image in your folder and select image sequence. And what that's going to do is it's going to import all of these photos, but in a video format in Photoshop. And here you can actually set a frame rate. If you have more pictures, uh, you would preferably want to have a higher frame rate. I think a lot of people prefer 24 as like kind of a balance between a smooth video or smooth time lapse and maximizing your time lapse, your overall time. But I think I'm just going to stick with 15. So now Photoshop has, yeah, a lot of people don't know this. It has a video tool. But this window down here to actually edit the video or um, like play back the video itself won't be visible unless you click this timeline option here in the Windows tab. So if I do that, it's gone. By default, it's not selected. So if I just want to play it back already, how it is, it kind of takes a while, but after an initial, it initially passes through the video once, you can see what you're working with. Something like that. You can also apply edits like how you normally would to just normal pictures inside of Photoshop to the video. So if I wanted to add like a curves adjustment and kind of make the sky a little brighter, um, maybe something just like that. I can do that and then it'll play back through each frame again with that new edit. And then depending on, I mean, you can mess with pretty much everything. The saturation can really saturate it. I think you can also add masks. So if you just want to edit the sky versus the foreground, you can do that. Um, I was gonna show how to do that in the star trail image though. So I think with just this basic time lapse, I'll probably save it. And I'm pretty sure it's just as simple as exporting as, I take that back. You can save as.
When you're editing these for like saturation and all, does that edit all of them
hmm Yeah, so
at
if
the
you,
same time?
mhm, it'll, yeah, if you apply a saturation over a single frame, like you can make it look disgusting and
Yeah,
you can play it back and then it'll apply that same edit to every frame.
that's cool.
So yeah, it looks so gross. Um, so yeah, I think at this point you can just save as and save to your computer. Does anyone have any questions before I continue? Okay. The next piece of software that will help make star trail images is called StarStaX. It's free to download. I mean, yeah, you don't have to pay for anything. It's really simple. You open it up, you select up here where you want to open your images, and I'm just going to take the same um, images that were edited in Lightroom and just open all of them. And you can do a Control A to select all, or you select the first image and shift click the last image, something like that. But once all the images are in, you have a couple different options for uh, what you want like your star trails to look like. But I think the best option is to add just gap filling. And so what that'll do is it'll between each frame, there will be a little gap in the stars. And what it'll try to do is kind of compensate for that and just it'll try to add just like lighter pixels between all the stars. Um, you can also add dark images to take out like noise and stuff like that, but not going to be worrying about that.
So is that making the stars thicker? Because you add more
What it'll do is
white specks?
sorry, it'll make a streak in the sky. In this, it'll take all of these images and instead of making it in like a video format, it'll uh, kind of stack all of those images on top of each other. Here, I'll
Yeah, I can
show.
picture it.
Yeah, so something like this.
Okay.
Oh, so once everything's finished, it'll you can adjust the settings for the actual gap filling by you want to click this threshold overlay, and what you want to do is you can adjust this threshold slider, and essentially you want to minimize the amount of green in your background, but um, to the point where it just gets down to where the foreground is. So something like that. You can adjust the amount slider just a little more, and I think it'll fill in the gaps a little better. But after that, you can just save the image. Um, and if you want to edit it in Photoshop, this will be what it looks like. So at this point, I know a lot of people take star trail images and then also have like really nice foregrounds, like a boat or a house or something. Um, and how you can adjust the background and the foreground separately is creating masks. So if you come to the select and mask tool in this window, select and mask, um, you can select. Usually selecting the foreground is just a little easier. And basically just take your cursor and left click everywhere there's foreground. And it does a decent job. If you want to remove spots, you can hold left, or sorry, left Alt and click, and it'll kind of bring it in. You can hit Control Z to undo edits. Just something like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can, after this, you might want to feather it just a little bit. And normally I like to output it by default. It's output to selection, but I think it's easier to output to new layer because it won't interact with any of your uh, previous layers. So this is, yeah, kind of what the mask does. It'll basically just take out the background and it'll allow you to, if you want to do like a curves adjustment on just the foreground or the background, um, like you open an adjustment and if you have a mask, you can, and how it is right now, if you change this slider, it'll change the whole image. Everything will get affected. But if you hit the this check mark here where you want to apply to the mask, now it'll only apply to where you have your mask selected, so just the foreground. So if I want to bring this really up, like you can see it's just affecting the foreground. But really only, I think the only thing I want to do for the foreground in this example is lower the saturation all the way, just because there is a little bit of green, and personally I don't really like that. So if you bring the saturation slider all the way down, it'll just look black or gray. Missed a few spots in there. Now for the background, it's basically the same thing. You can come into the selected mask tool, and if you just want to select, here I'll get rid of the timeline window too. So if you just want to select the foreground again, whoops. Oh no, it froze. I might have to restart Photoshop. That's sad. Nothing got saved. Whoops. This time I might just do the mask selection for the background. So if you have your foreground selected, you can um, inverse it. So now it'll just affect the sky, and that's in the select and inverse. So check all the settings, new layer with layer mask. And if I want to, oh, you gotta click the arrow. I don't know, you can kind of just do whatever with it. That kind of looks cool. Um, so once you're finished with all of the editing to your preference, if you zoom in, you might see like weird blemishes or hot pixels or just streaks, things like that that you don't want. So what you can do is make a new layer with just this uh, plus button here, and you want to use a tool called the spot healing brush. And basically, um, what it'll do is if you zoom in to something you don't want, and you make sure that the settings are you can really change or affect how you want this to work, but you want content aware to be selected, so it'll consider what's around the pixel or streak you want basically gone, and you want sample all layers checked, because otherwise, if you just use the brush, nothing's going to happen. And you can basically just go over places where, yeah, there's spots and streaks like that and get rid of them. So if I don't want that there, gone. That pixel, it's gone. Um, and yeah, you just kind of go through the entire image and erase those. If you have like a longer streak, like I think I remember there was one over here, yeah. If you have a longer streak, you can, instead of just dragging your mouse across the whole screen, you can click somewhere. So just click once, you hold shift, and you go to the endpoint of where you want the streak missing, click again, and you're holding shift while you're clicking. And so this creates like a straight line, and there, the whole streak is gone like that. Whoops. You can also change the size of the brush using the brackets on the keyboard next to P, or with this slider here as well. So yeah, if you really just wanted to mess with your whole image, you can do that. Yeah, it's really just a process of going through everything. Um, this will look a lot better if you have more pictures just overall. Like, one sec. Like if you're pointing your camera to uh, like the North Celestial Pole or something, you can get images like this.
Those are really cool.
So other than that, I didn't really have anything else I wanted to show. Um, does anyone have questions, or I could maybe go back over something?
I got a quick one.
Hmm.
Um, does Photoshop or any tool have the ability to enlarge these images? So, like, say I take a picture and it looks great, but when I enlarge it or like open it up on a tablet, something bigger like a laptop, then it just looks all like pixelated and I don't know, lower quality.
Are you saving it as a lower quality image?
No, I don't think so because it says raw. I mean,
Okay.
it seems like it's exactly how it came.
Hmm.
Yes, it's many.
Uh, yeah, Photoshop, you can enlarge the image size. So this is already 6,000 by 4,000 pixels. If I wanted to do 10,000, you can absolutely do that. Um, they're also they now have like AI tools that will help you you can enlarge images with. Like um, I can show a couple maybe.
That's pretty useful. So, but like in Photoshop you have to pay for that stuff all too, right?
The Photoshop image enlargement tools or the AI tools?
Um, I think Photoshop, yeah, just the Photoshop ones.
Photoshop does a decent job just by itself. Like if you just go in the image tab, image size, you can increase, decrease. You can do all of that pretty much, but like a lot of the AI tools, you definitely have to pay for. But people, I mean, people pay for it because overall, it just they do a better job. Um,
Yeah, I think it might be worth it. I'm gonna try it.
Something I recommend if you were gonna buy anything like that is Topaz Labs.
Okay.
They have a denoise tool, sharpen tool, gigapixel tool where it's actually you can enlarge the images. Um, for Astro stuff, the denoise tool is really good. I definitely recommend that. The whole package, I think
Okay.
sometimes it's on sale. You can get like a year subscription to it. I think it was like $30 when it was on sale.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad.
And they're also a lot of, I mean, just nowadays there are so many AI tools. If you want to
Yeah.
see something cool, it's not really related. Sorry, but I thought it was cool to share.
Go for it.
So this is PixInsight. It's another it's a like Photoshop is kind of a general use photo editor. This is just an astrophoto editor. So it's got a lot of specific tools for astro images. Um, I had something somewhere. I think I moved it recently. Hmm. Okay. Whoops. So this is a image of uh, M51. I didn't get this data, but it was like open source data, just like practice editing and stuff like that. But if you zoom in, like it looks overall kind of blurry. Like there's not a lot of detail. I mean, there's a lot of detail. It's just it could be better. And
Yeah.
there's a new AI tool that came out recently. It's called BlurX, and it's fantastic. It's so good. Basically, just open it up. You don't even really have to adjust anything, and just let it run, and the image comes out 10 times better. It it looks so good. But you it is pretty expensive, unfortunately, but I think you can it's a one-time deal, so yeah, it's like $100 or something, but it
That
gets
sounds like a
really
lot.
yeah, just for a to click a button.
Yeah.
But I don't know, you can be the judge and tell me if it's worth.
Probably sometime in the future. Too much of a rookie right now.
What what do you like to do? Like do you take pictures or
Yeah. Well, as of now, I've just been taking um kind of just like no telescope, just straight up the camera into the sky.
mhm.
Um, kind of like the one you were showing before you. added the trails to it. But recently I finished designing the a gearbox so that I can mount it and um add a telescope to it. And I'm gonna start to get into that. So that's why getting the software is gonna be key.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd say for making photos, like, yeah, look at this. Look at that.
Oh, that's crazy.
Um,
Dang.
Here, I can get a side by side, I think.
Yeah.
Looks like something Hubble would take. It's
Yeah.
really good. It also uh decreases the star size, I've noticed.
Yeah.
So normally that's its own process. You gotta go in, select the stars, minimize them, that sort of thing. So you're making your own mount?
Yeah, pretty much.
Huh, that's pretty
I feel like it'll
crazy.
be cheaper. I don't want to pay $600 for it. Seems too
Yeah.
easy. It's just a gearbox, a weighted gearbox. Mountly secures the camera, and that's it. The telescope, though, I don't think I can finesse that. That'll have to be the payment.
I mean, there are a lot of, like, if you could probably put like a small refractor or something on the that mount. But yeah, it really depends on what you want to go with. I've seen some of them range from like, yeah, like $600 for one with pretty decent optics to like a couple thousand.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's probably one of the most expensive hobbies.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah. If you have any questions just for like landscape photography or anything else like that, I'm always open to answer questions.
Okay, sweet. Have a good night.
Yep, you too.